All right, so now that we're moving on in our packets, we're going to take a look at ratios and proportions, and we're on page 6. And if you want to go ahead and take some notes with me to define a ratio, it is simply the relationship between two amounts of something. So we're going to talk about a lot of different quantities here. We're going to be talking and comparing parts to parts and parts to whole. And down below with this litter of puppy examples, I'm going to kind of explain the difference in part to part and part to whole. But in general, a ratio is just a relationship between two amounts. Now, ratios can be written in 3 ways. And the 3 ways I have are right here, here, and as a fraction. And so to explain, we've got boxes over here, and we have 4 total boxes. Now, the ratio of gray to white, we have 1, 2, 3 gray boxes and 1 white box. So the ratio of gray to white is 3 to 1, 3 to 1, or 3 to 1. And sometimes we see it as fractions, and sometimes we see it with this colon over here. Rarely do we see it written out like this, but when we talk about it, we're saying 3 to 1. Now we can flip it and say here, what's the ratio of white to gray? So white to gray is now 1 to 3. And once again, it's 1 to 3, 1 to 3, or 1 to 3, 1 over 3. Now this is considered a part-to-part ratio because we have 3 gray parts for every 1 white part. So this is a part-to-part. Now ratios can be scaled up, so I can now ask over here, what's the ratio of gray boxes to white boxes? And the ratio of gray to white, there's 6 gray boxes for every 2 white. And when we reduce that, we can see that for every 1, 2, 3 gray boxes, there'd be 1 white box. So ratios can be scaled up. I could take this a step further and have 12 total boxes, if I just extend here. So now I've got 12 total boxes. And if we shade this and this and this, then I'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 gray boxes for every 3 white. And once again, 9 over 3 is going to reduce. And we say that for every 3 gray boxes, we'd find 1 gray box in the overall picture. All right. So now let's just kind of use some examples to get comfortable with this. We have a litter of 7 puppies, and there are 4 boys and 3 girls. So off to the side, what I just did was to kind of have a visual here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 boy puppies, and then 1, 2, 3 girl puppies. So there's 7 total puppies in the litter. And the first thing we're asked is, what's the ratio of boy puppies to girl puppies? So for every 4 boy puppies, there are 3 girls, so 4 to 3, or 4 over 3. Notice I'm not writing the one with the words 2, because we just say it 4 to 3, or 4 to 3. Now the next one, though, just says simply, what's the ratio of girl puppies to boy puppies? So now we're just going to say the other thing. There's 3 girl puppies for every boy puppies in the litter. Now let's talk about part to whole. This is when we care about the total. And so if now we're asked about the ratio of boy puppies to all puppies, we're going to say for every 4 puppies out of 7 total puppies, 4 out of 7. Same thing now here, we can compare the ratio of girl puppies out of the total of all. And that's where you're going to see the 3 out of 7. Oh, whoops, I think I have a typo there. It should be a 3 over here. Let me fix that. So for the girls, it'd be a 7 over 3 right here. Let me just fix that. There we go. All right, cool. So again, part to part versus part to whole. In part to part, the numbers would add up to be the total. And in part to whole, the second number would be the total. All right, so now down below here, there's going to be a you try, and I am going to ask that you actually just pause the video and try those problems down below. And then when you hit play, you can kind of check your work. All right, so go ahead and hit pause. All right, now, so over here, for all the different shapes that we had in this group, if you count them up, you can see that there's 7 circles total, there were 4 stars total, and there were 4 squares total. So when we add these, we have 15 shapes over here. So the first one, for ratio of circles to stars, there are 7 circles for every 4 stars. So the ratio is 7 to 4. Now the ratio of stars to all, if there's 15 shapes total, there were 4 stars out of the 15, so 4 to 15. The ratio of stars to circles, so stars to circles would be the 4 to 7. The ratio of squares to all, so 4 squares for all. Circles to squares, that's going to be the 7 to 4. Stars to squares, now this is where I definitely want to slow down here and do some explaining for this one. So if there are 4 stars and 4 squares, we can say that the ratio is 1 to 1. So for this star, there was its square. This square has its star. This square has its star, and this square has its star. So if there's 4 and 4, we can say that that's a 1 to 1 ratio. Okay? Now you might have heard that in Fairfax County, the FCPS high schools, for their computers or laptops, they're going 1 to 1. And what that means is each student will have their own school-issued laptop. It means that for every student in the school, there will be a computer to match them. Now, at Irving, we don't have enough computers for every single student, so we do not have 1 to 1, but when you're hearing that the high schools are going 1 to 1, that means that the school will have a computer for every single kid. If there's 2 kids, they need 2 computers. If there's 3 kids, they need 3 computers, and so on. All right? Now, for this next part, let's say there are now 8 stars. So we're going to double the number of stars. So what would happen to the number of circles? If we want the ratio to stay the same, we'd have 14 circles. Okay, we'd also double the circles. Now let's say, though, we're going to only have 2 stars. So we cut the number of stars in half. What would happen to the number of squares? We'd also cut it in half to keep the ratio the same, and then there'd only be 2 squares. Now that's going to be the end of the video for page 6, and there's also going to be a video now for page 7 and 8 to keep moving on. Thank you.